Now, tell me something. I mean, in the sense like, especially in the last few, I think, post the post the 2024, where elections happened across the major economies, the markets have been volatile, and I think public markets have also been fairly subdued. How do you kind of go about thinking how to change your asset allocation strategy, especially in these changing dynamics? And should this also reflect in some of our personal portfolios, the thinking that actually comes from a family office institution like yourselves? Should this also reflect in, or would it reflect in your personal portfolio, for example?
Uh, so the answer to this is no, it
Okay.
doesn't reflect in my personal portfolio. But I'll tell you the way you approach a family office, and I'll tell you why it doesn't reflect in the personal portfolio. Uh, for an institution and for a setup like ours, consistency of capital, let's say, wealth appreciation and wealth preservation are equally important.
Mm-hmm.
So when we make an allocation matrix for the family, we will divide it into sub accounts of whose wealth am I managing within the family. So let me just give you an example. If it is the patriarch, he's of a certain age, he has certain explicit requirements of the wealth in certain domains, versus a grandchild who is really not in a position to draw any out of the wealth. So the portfolio mix for the grandchild versus the patriarch are fairly different. Uh, but as a holistic part, we still stay on an asset allocation. So we will make the mix for all the sub portfolios and determine a blend. So let me give you an example. If my patriarch has two daughters, so one is married, one is still to get married. So again, the mix for what we keep for them is different, though they are of a similar age bracket.
Sure.
So what we need to determine at all points in time is, and when we sit down and do our calculations every financial year beginning, we so in the first two years, of course, there was a lot of alignment to what we wanted to bring it towards. But once that is done, the portfolio percentage just changes by 5 to 10% on
Got
an
it.
overall matrix. It doesn't go this way or that way every year.
So, if I have to kind of ask you a question, what scares you most? Is it more about volatility or is it more, in some sense, suddenly some of these investments actually going down? So you spoke about growth versus preservation, right? But obviously, growth has the other side of the coin, which is the risk and the volatility that it comes. So, so how do you balance between those two? I mean, it's easy to say, but I don't know how you actually do it every.
So, what we follow here at Ray is a very disciplined approach of investing and a disciplined approach of profit booking. So, both put together, we do not really, let's say, it's almost like a science. We don't really get married to things we have bought, and on the other side, we don't cut it off just because it's making. So both ways, you try and stay balanced. Also, what you try and do is make it more comprehensive. So the first thing when I took over this role, we had decided that we will do things only which give my patriarch good sleep and me good sleep in the night. Anything else which is a little if, we will leave it. And that's the principle we've been going back with time and again. Of course, you will have your losses and you'll have those drawdown days and everything like that. The other thing was also, I made it a rule not to do anything which was giving the family discomfort in the decision making. So, in a process sense, the way we followed it is we would always involve them at the final leg when we are about to allocate to a new fund manager. I would insist that one of the family members would actually meet that fund manager,
Yeah.
take a lens, or if there's anything that irks them, I would have noted it and then consider it in decision making. So,
And so I'm going to now come back to your 7-8% to 15% number that you spoke about in the private markets and the alternates, right? How big is that portfolio for you? And one of the things that, I mean, I grew up more from the angel investment side of the equation, right? So there are about 49 companies that me and my partner have invested in to date, prior to Agama. And question that kind of keeps coming to us is, how do we even kind of manage such a huge portfolio? And if I am actually investing more at the angel stage, I'm sure, there are quite a sizable number of investments that you would have done.
Yeah.
So what would you want to kind of give us a little more light about how big the portfolio is, both funds and direct investments, and how do you actually kind of manage?
So I'm not able to share the numbers because it's privy to the family,
Sure.
and I'm the confidant of the family. So I can only talk about the overarching perspective. However, I can only tell you is that we don't spread ourselves too thin.
Okay.
So in these 14 years, we would have done not more than, I think on the venture side, on the equity side, we wouldn't
Yeah.
have done more than 5 funds.
Okay.
On the credit side, we would have done not more than 5 funds.
Got it.
On the venture debt side, we would have done not more than 2 funds.
Very interesting.
So what we believe in is that you select the correct manager and then you put the money behind them.
Yeah.
Instead of spreading too thin.
Yeah.
So we would never do a 49 fund portfolio.
Hear you.
We
I
would
have
always...
I have heard those numbers from some of our other conversations that we are having, especially as we're talking about Agama,
Okay.
right? So I've heard huge numbers.
Yes. I know some families are actually doing a spray and pray approach.
Correct.